right. All right, guys. Any questions you guys want to ask? Raise your hand, and we'll let you in, and let's get this ball rolling. All right, Claire. So, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I have a little idea, which is a one-party theocracy, and it's a bit radical, and people don't like it. But I thought it would offer some order and stability in a West that I think is declining. I know young people wouldn't know because they wouldn't have noticed what it was before to what it is now, and I'm sure young people will notice their elders complaining that things aren't what they were, and things are getting worse. And I was thinking of the reasons why people change, and I think it's because the laws change, and if the laws are not right and don't encourage the right kind of behaviour and don't discourage the wrong kind of behaviour, then we will have social problems and it will make our civilization decline. And secular Quranism is my solution to the problem.
Okay. Again, guys, any questions? Just raise your hand. I'll let you in. All right. So, how do you think the Quran will solve the issues of the West?
Well, from what I can tell of the politics of the West, people are concerned about immigration. And coming from the UK, I've noticed that the British really voted to leave the EU because they were tired of immigration. And I noticed that a lot of people voted for Trump because they were tired of immigration. And Trump kind of said to the UK that it would be okay to vote Brexit because he would support it when he was president. And what we noticed was Obama was really anti-Brexit, telling the British that they had better watch out and they would go to the back of the queue after Brexit, and America wasn't going to help them. And so it seemed to me that a lot of Westerners were unhappy about their government for roughly the same reasons. So in America, it was about endless foreign wars as well as immigration, and for Britain it was about immigration. And I think the EU they kind of know that if all the countries, all the EU member states, if they all had a referendum on the same day, most people would end up leaving the EU. So this is something that, obviously the liberal elite are happy about. They get their cheap labour, then, they don't have to deal with their own working classes. And I think the anti-immigration parties, they don't honestly tell their supporters what the problem is, which is that attraction for immigrant labour is because of a labour shortage caused by a falling birth rate and a rapidly ageing society. And people won't, say that, more parents need to have more babies and need to parent them better and put them in schools that are better than what they are now, and then produce a labour force that employers might want to hire. And I think there's just so much difficulty in improving the state education system and sorting everything out that I think the tendency of Western politicians is to ignore the problem altogether rather than even try to fix it. So while everything is getting worse, they'll just shut everybody up for complaining about it. And I think that's wrong. But some people have said, what I propose is a kind of rhetorical device in that, I propose something so horrible and scary, and that Westerners will certainly wake up and think, well, this is how bad things are, that, maybe the only thing that would fix the West would be this thing that I propose, which nobody likes. So that's what it is. It's I don't deny that it's radical and it's the opposite of what people are used to. but it seems to me that a lot of people in the West are unhappy, and this is an attempt to address their problems.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Again, if anyone has any questions, okay. All right, one person. All right, give me one sec. All right, Andrew, I let you in, brother. Go ahead,
Hello.
Andrew. Yes, sir.
How would
Hi.
your system address new ideas, and would it allow for, what is it again? Innovation.
Yeah, I mean, as long as there's nothing, in your innovation that the Quran specifically forbids, then innovate away.
Okay. And thank you.
Oh, good. I'm glad you thought I answered the question. I mean, I don't know what you have in mind because, if you say,
I was
well,
thinking about,
the innovation
science.
is this about science. There's nothing in the Quran that says you're not allowed to innovate. In fact, the Muslims in the Middle Ages were known for their mathematicians and their astronomy. So when they were following their own rules, they were doing really well. And it only ended after the Ottoman Empire collapsed. After the First World War, because it supported the wrong side, basically. So when Germany, which it supported during the First World War, lost the war, basically the other, the winning Western nations looted Turkey, basically, and that was the end of the Ottoman Empire. But before it fell, it was the most powerful expression of Islamic imperialism, and it did cause a lot of problems for Europe, and because it was so big, and there would be wars between the Christian powers of the Europe of Europe and the Ottoman Empire.
Well, what about another kind of innovation? Progressivism. And gay rights. What about those? I currently have seen nothing that states that being gay or having gay sex is dangerous when protected and only having one partner. So what about those rights?
Give me 1 second, guys.
Or
Go
am
ahead,
I
Don.
just
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Andrew. Answer his question, Claire and Don. If whenever they're done, ask your question. Okay. Go ahead, guys.
Okay, so about gay sex, actually, it's quite accommodating in the sense that nobody's going to be punished just for being gay. They would only be punished for having sex in a public place, because the wording of chapter 4, verse 16 is that it would have to be a lewd act committed between men, and if you're doing it on private property, nobody's going to catch you. But if you are caught cottaging, then there's bound to be problems, because then you would be infringing the public decency laws. But I'm sure lots of people can find private places to have their relationships.
So as long as it's in privacy, which is actually good. Please don't put that in public. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, but I mean, we know that some homosexuals can they cruise, and they go to public places. Are known to do that, and yeah.
Well, same thing with straight people. Some straight people.
And that would be a problem too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Go ahead, Don.
I know there's been a lot of advancements in cosmology and mathematics hundreds of years ago, and then all that coming out of the Middle East. And then it seemed to all change when the Quran started being more implemented, I guess, in an intense manner, I guess, and it all kind of went to other countries. What do you think caused the decline in those, the ability for the Middle East to kind of keep up with the rest of the world, in cosmology and mathematics?
Well, I would say it's the decline of the Ottoman Empire, which used to administer both Mecca and Jerusalem. So before the British took over, it belonged to Israel. That part of the world belonged to the Ottoman Empire. So it was once a great empire, but I think, as happens to all great empires when they decline, is that they break their own rules, and the first rule that they break is the one about sexual immorality, and they will lower standards of sexual immorality until something happens, and then they can't fix it anymore, because that, I think, is one of the things that people think, oh, nothing will happen. If I do it, nothing will happen. It's a victimless crime. Well, most people would see that, there ought to be laws against murder, there ought to be laws against theft, but sexual immorality is kind of, fluid. And I think, when societies become successful, they think they can, relax those standards until they get to a situation when they can't actually fix it, because most people are doing the wrong thing. And I believe this is the situation now in the West, because most parents, in the UK anyway, are not married parents. And I think the illegitimacy rate in America is 40%, in Canada it's 50%. And just to give you an idea of the criminality of societies that don't practice marriage, Jamaica has an illegitimacy rate of 85%. So, about 86% of children born in Jamaica are not, will be born into a fatherless home. So I think that's a problem.
Claire, give me one sec. Sunken, if you're trying to talk, we can't hear you, so you might want to leave and come back, brother.
Oh, no, I wasn't going to interrupt Claire, that's all.
Oh, okay. I just saw you lighting up, so I was just wondering. Anyway, keep going. Sorry about that.
Oh, I finished what I was saying anyway.
Oh. Yeah. Can I do a follow-up real quick, a quick one? Yeah, so given that answer, I appreciate that. That's awesome. But nowadays, when we're talking about today's environment, today's discoveries, the scientists, I guess the education level that's coming out of the Middle East, would you say it's comparable with the rest of the world, or is it not comparable because of occupation of other countries, or what's your general sense about the quality of the Middle East today?
I can't pretend to know. I know, the Asians I know, that they tend to be engineers. It's like almost every other middle class Asian person is an engineer. In the UK, they all do sensible courses at universities and come out with a job, and never do art, never do literature. It's always something that will get them a job. They're always focused in that way, education level, I don't have personal experience of what it is in Muslim countries, but obviously they should keep up their standards in order to remain in the race of technology and that kind of thing. But I don't actually know the statistics of Middle East, probably because they have a lot of oil. They don't feel they have to try that hard anyway.
Yes, ma'am.
But non-Gulf state Muslim countries might have a different attitude.
Yeah, thanks, Claire.
Well,
I had a question, two actually. They're sort of related. First is, and I don't know that much about you, and I hope you won't take personal offense. That's I just learned about you when I was looking recently at some articles, and I was curious first, do you think that there is a juxtaposition between your outspoken, let me put it this way. I've seen some pictures of you on the internet. And the pictures seem to show you in very, very aggressive poses. They're usually ideologically based, like they'll feature a gun or some ideological symbolism, right? And I don't know if they're pictures that you authorized. I don't know how they're being used, but your positions also seem to be very strongly opinionated, based in strong ideology. Isn't this a juxtaposition against your anti-feminism?
It depends on what you mean by anti-feminism. I would define feminism as operating through bribing men with extramarital sex. So it doesn't mean that men would have. Okay. What I'm saying is that the lower the standards of sexual morality in a country, the less power men have, because they wouldn't be fathers, they wouldn't be living with their wives and having control over the upbringing of their children, and when most people in a society don't have that kind of group organization, things fall apart. And that's really all I'm saying.
I understand that you champion the hierarchy of the that is the patriarchy, but what I'm saying is that you're not acting in a position which puts the patriarchy above your authority. So it's weird to see someone championing the patriarchy.
You don't have any authority. I question what you mean when I don't have any authority.
You're speaking from an ideological authority, right? You're speaking from a moral authority, internal ideological and moral authority, I think. Otherwise, I don't even know what you would be saying.
Well, I'm saying that patriarchy would be preferable to matriarchy. I am indeed saying that. But it's only an opinion that perhaps, enough honourable and influential people will one day share. But they seem to be silent at the moment.
Saying it's only an opinion, right? I think that's a bit of a cop-out, don't you? Because what you're doing, right, is you're making a moral claim, and not just making a moral claim about the truth of a moral position, which is fine. Everybody does it, and sometimes people are wrong. But then, when questioned on what is the authority of the moral position, you simply back away and say, no, raise your hand since it's only an opinion. It's a cop-out.
No, I mean, it's quite clear that the Quran is believed by Muslims to be the word of God. So,
Sure.
I am referring to that authority.
But you're not a Muslim.
No, I'm agnostic, but I'm saying, it's perfectly possible as an agnostic or an atheist just to, agree with some of the 10 Commandments, because they obviously make sense.
But here's the thing: the Quran.
You apply this position to the Quran as well, because a lot of the ideas and the rules in the Quran make sense.
But again, I think it's weird that I agree that a lot of the 10 Commandments make sense. Maybe 3 of them, right, make good sense. Although I would argue that they go on to then make no sense if you read the rest of the Bible. But it doesn't matter. I understand what you're saying, but to take the Quran as a whole and then call yourself a Quranist, which is a very weird view, I think, from the fact that you might be able to pick moralisms out of the Quran and then say, well, then I'm a Quranist. Very strange.
Well, that's what it means, for Muslims, some Muslims think the Quran, is better than the Hadith, and the Hadith is basically a lot of, quite harsh punishments and, in my view, unnecessary restrictions.
But in order to be a Quran, in order to be a Quranist, in the sense that you're a Muslim, you would first have to be a Muslim, which you're not. It's a very weird claim you're making, right? That you're saying
I'm just saying, applying the analogy of saying that, of agreeing with some of the Ten Commandments as an atheist, I invite you to apply it to somebody who's an atheist or an agnostic, saying, some of these rules in the Quran are a good idea, but, I'm not sure if God exists, but they sound, fair enough.
Fair enough, but I wouldn't call myself a Ten Commandmentist or a biblicalist.
Oh, no. Oh, well, that, Ten Commandments are not enough anyway, to be the basis of your law.
Fine. I suspect that you don't agree with, or for that matter, like almost everybody, don't understand the entire Quran, right?
Well, I've read it several times in several translations.
Yeah, I'm not.
I have a reasonable understanding of it.
I'm not questioning your comprehension. I'm saying that the Quran is not an understood book. At the time of writing, there was not an accompanying book which clarified in modern day English or even Arabic what was intended, right? Just like the Bible is not an understood book, right? There's no definitive understanding of those books.
Well, the Quran is clearer than the Bible anyway, and most of the prohibitions and commandments are quite clear in my view.
But no, I think you're dodging a little bit, right? Is it an understood book? Is there a definitive, truthful, and somehow provably more definitive than other interpretation of the Quran? The answer is no. You can't argue against that.
Well, obviously there will be people who don't agree with a certain interpretation. Okay, there will be as many interpretations as there are interpreters prepared to assert their interpretation is better than all the others.
And I won't go into the Quran.
That's
I won't go into the
inevitable.
Quran as it's written. But if somebody comes to you with a verse from the Quran, let's just say, which is objectionable, maybe even by your own standards, or which contradicts itself or some other verse, do you engage in that case in apologetics, or do you make an attempt to say, well, it's not a fully understood book, right? Or do you begin to engage in the action of apologetics and say, well, this and such actually could mean or may mean, or this is an example of such. You have no particular reason
if you would cite an example of a verse that you are in doubt over, then we could talk it over.
Oh, all I'm asking is, what would you do in that situation, right? Because and in fact, I think
I would have to examine it and perhaps consult people. I don't know, but
it sounds like you're coming at it from the. It sounds like you're coming at it from the apologetic perspective that if you find a problem with the Quran, rather than reading it at the face value, if someone brings your attention to the problem with the Quran, and it doesn't matter if there is a problem with the Quran. What I'm posing is a hypothetical, right? You're saying that you would immediately begin engaging in apologetics. You wouldn't accept it at the face value. If there were a verse tacked on to the end of the Quran.
Except what at face value? I'm not sure what you mean.
What I'm saying, let's just theoretically, I have a version of the Quran, right, which I contend is theologically consistent and was the correct version of the Quran as written by the Prophet Muhammad. And I present this version of the Quran, and in this
he didn't write it just for the sake of the record. Muslims don't believe Muhammad wrote it. He only recited what was believed to be the word of God. Just in future, in case you want to ever talk about it to a Muslim. That Muslims don't believe that Muhammad wrote the Quran. In fact, they call him the unlettered prophet.
I know what Muslims believe. It was shorthand.
Please continue with your question.
My question
you came
is...
to me with what?
The question is, right, if somebody came to you with what appears to be, at least by their theological construction, a serious discrepancy between the Quran and what is obviously true. Like if the Quran said something to the effect of, it is okay to meaninglessly kill people with no justification. In fact, you ought to do it as often as you can. I realize the Quran doesn't say that, but if you read such a verse, I'm asking, are you predisposed disposed to engage in apologetics, such as something like it's taken out of context, or let me talk to scholars and see if they can put this verse into perspective, rather than as a face value reading say, I see the Quran isn't necessarily right about everything? Or do you actually contend that the Quran is necessarily right about everything?
Well, I have read it several times. No such verse comes to
I'm
mind
aware.
when you say this. So, maybe I missed out something, but if you don't come to me with an actual concrete example, I just don't know how I would react to it. I mean, it's so hypothetical that you haven't actually got an example, and you're I think you're assuming that I will just defend the Quran without.
No, but all I'm asking for you is make a definitive statement on the Quran that you actually
can't make a definitive statement. I've already said I've read it several times. Nothing untoward has popped up that I think, oh, that's crazy or evil or whatever. So. And unless you can come up with something like that, this seems to be a pointless discussion. Other than you trying to say that I'm going to defend the Quran,
but what I'm asking you is, as the Quran is or could be in any hypothetical situation, right? Why is it that you think that the Quran that you have, right, is correct? What has made you think that everything in the Quran is specifically correct? It seems to be
because I've read it several times, and I think it's fair enough. And obviously you disagree, and if you can come with. If you can cite a verse or two that you think is obviously wrong or evil or whatever, then we can discuss it. But I don't think you have read it, which is why you can't give me an example.
I don't know that there's a definitive example. I don't speak Arabic, but to be clear, what I'm asking you is...
You don't have to read Arabic. There's an English translation.
Yes, I realize I've read a couple of English translations, but to be clear, right, if I were to find you an English translation you disagreed with, the nature of the fact that the original is in an ancient language, which no longer exists, and even the modern translations of it, the best ones are in modern Arabic, means that you can easily dodge anything I put forward in English, right? You kind of have a nice
okay, you're accusing me of dodging something. Well, throw something at me and then we can talk about it. Because this is a hypothetical upon a hypothetical. And if you have nothing more than that to say to me, we could move on to the next subject.
All I want is an answer from you. Do you think the Quran as it is perfect?
I don't. I'm saying it's the best available guide. What would I know about perfection? I'm saying it's the best available guide, and that must serve our purposes. If it's the best thing, then we choose the best available thing, unless we know of an even better thing, and nobody does. Not even the people who hate my idea, who want to throw rocks at it. They can't think of a better guide.
Why is it the best available guide for humanity?
Why is it? Well, because nobody else can think of anything better. I mean, unless you want to think of...
Okay. You're not answering why, according to your view, to your standard, is the Quran the best guide to humanity? And please don't say just because no one has thought of anything better. That's just speculation.
All right. I will say that it comes from the highest possible authority, the supreme authority, and it was meant. But in theory, it comes from God, okay? And it is still operational in 6 theocracies. So we still have six theocracies, Sharia-based. Sharia theocracies in the world. So it's still functioning. It's not something
ridiculous. Just because something is operational... Just because something is operational does not entail that we ought to follow that standard. Do you understand that?
I certainly do understand that, but it is better to have something that is still working than something that stopped working a long time ago, such as Hammurabi's code.
Hey, Claire, I think what they're asking is, like, I understand you say it comes from the highest authority, but the fact of the matter is you're agnostic, so you don't actually believe it's coming from the highest authority. So then what would be your excuse for actually like following what it says. Do you get what I'm saying?
Well, my position is that even those who don't believe in God can't think of a better one. I mean, I've been on the server for quite a while. I've been arguing with people,
I
and
can
know
think
there
of a
are other
better
people
one.
who hate my idea, and they can't think of anything better. I mean, the best they can come up with is Harry Potter's a better book, and you know than the Quran, which shows that they're not
That's ridiculous.
serious, or they say things like my sister's coloring book is better. So this is something I've noticed amongst people who don't even like the Quran. They can't think of a better one. I mean, I suppose they could say, "Oh, well, the Communist Manifesto or Mein Kampf or you know whatever," but they haven't actually said that. So you know, it does seem that it is the best available guide.
Claire, Claire, just because something is Claire, just because something is the highest authority doesn't mean that we ought to obey or abide by it.
Why not?
So what? So yeah, just that renders any argument that you make for the Quran just because it comes from the highest possible authority invalid.
I mean, it's not just that. You know, obviously, you would only support it if you thought, well, I don't like how my country is being run. It could be run better in a different way. And we know about the culture war between liberals and conservatives in the West, and it's been going for quite a while. And it has come to my notice that conservatism doesn't really conserve anything. It's really an ideology of retreat. So, and perhaps it could never defend itself against, you know, all these sort of new fashionable radical ideologies such as, you know, Nazism or fascism or socialism or communism, and therefore, you know, conservatism is not enough.
ClaireKhaw, give me a sec. Zigya, I let you in, so you have to accept the request. Just letting you know if you're not. There you go. Thank
Claire,
you.
can I ask you a question?
Yes.
You say that you're agnostic, and I understand what you mean is that you aren't convinced that a god necessarily exists. But it sounds like you do lean towards the view that there is an ultimate power, right?
I have to admit that since I am relying on on the holy book of Muslims.
Sure. So this is where I get a bit confused about the theological context, because in the Muslim tradition, right, in the Quran, you know about Salah or Salih, depending on how you want it, the prophet, right, the one who comes to what's the town name? Holy crap! I can't remember the town name, but he comes to the town, and the town is blessed with a pregnant she-camel, and the test is to not string up the camel, but to let it graze for some amount of days. But they do against Salah's warning, right? And they hamstring the camel, and then, if I remember correctly, all the people are killed in an earthquake for doing this against the prophet's instruction, presumably Allah's instruction. So through the prophet. So the question is this: do you believe that can happen? Do you believe that killing a camel can inform an earthquake? Is there a direct correlation?
Well, okay, I'm glad you asked this question, because this gives me the opportunity to tell you that secular Quranism is indifferent to the stories, the narratives. So, you know, you're not required to believe in any of the stories. Secular Quranism is only interested in the do's and don'ts of the Quran. So I'm actually a little vague about the story of the camel. And that comes from the Hadith anyway, doesn't it?
Well, the initial story is roughly told in the Quran. The Muslim tradition elaborated on the story in Hadith, yeah, but I think Al-Tabari?
It's not something I'm familiar with.
But here's the situation. Here's the situation. If you don't believe the stories, then you don't really believe it's the most perfect book. You could simply strike the stories out of it and make it a more perfect moral guide.
Yeah, this was
because the stories are nothing to do with the do's and don'ts.
So take them out.
It's just a packaging. I mean, it's only the rules that are the real basis of it of the
that's
moral,
fine.
of the
That's
system.
fine. But what I'm trying to explain here is that it's not just an imperfect book. It's so imperfect by your own judgment that I could make it better.
Really? How?
By taking the stories out.
But that's what I've already proposed to do.
Or making it more secular.
But the book is not, as you propose, secular. It puts forth a specific theological ideology. You could say, right, the Quran is the most perfect book, but the Quran that came into your hands is clearly not. You're proposing to alter it in some way. So all you're doing is taking a book and by your own reckoning.
I'm just saying that the stories are nothing. They don't. You can't make a law out of a story.
Yeah.
So I'm only interested in the laws, the do's and don'ts.
Let me ask one question about that then. If I give you a book and I say it's authored by a greater God than Allah, right? And it includes the 7 Noahide laws, but adds one law, wouldn't you follow that book instead?
Well, it's such a novel situation that, I mean, obviously I'd have to read it.
You got 5 minutes? I can do it right now.
Hold on. Wait, I've sent a lot of pragmatic.
I have serious questions.
Oh, these are serious questions. You just love to.
I asked you very serious questions, Claire, that you don't have any responses for.
I think you're using pragmatic shielding to avoid talking about any hypotheticals that might expound on the nature of your acceptance of this book.
Okay, Claire, is it possible for you to just entertain the hypothetical, just for the sake of argument?
Okay, so what's the question I'm required to... I don't really know anything. I have no view on the camel being hamstrung. So the next question is what?
Well,
I'll back up.
Yeah, go ahead. Ethernet, go ahead. Ask your question. And because, she says she's able to answer hypotheticals, so ask your question one more time, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
All right, I don't want to dogpile because she's willing enough to come up here and answer questions, which is great. That's fine. But no, the question was just that, if I were to author a book and just say that it came from, word of God, spoke in my ear, and he offered me the 7 Noahide laws, and but there was one added. I mean, wouldn't you follow that book?
But I have to know what it is, and you're making it sound so ridiculous already that,
What's ridiculous about it?
It would be coming from you, and you're an atheist, and I know you hate the idea, so, you're just going to mock the whole thing, so it's hard to take your idea seriously.
Okay, so set aside me, just anyone that maybe you don't know their background, because that might be somewhat of an issue. I mean, wouldn't it be better?
The thing, wouldn't I? I would have to read the thing, because I've already been saying the Quran is the best available guide to humanity, and then somebody says, "Ooh, I've got something better," so I have to read it. And since this is a hypothetical situation, I won't be reading it because it won't be written. And please, can I have a serious question?
Well, it is a serious question, and I could write it. That actually have fewer words.
Okay, go on. And when you write it, you can ask me the question.
Claire, even Atlas Shrugged is better than the Quran as a guide for humanity.
That's your opinion. She writes terribly.
Okay, yes, it is my opinion. But so what? It's the same way I could just say that you hold the Quran to such a standard because it's your opinion. That's a very dumb...
I did say earlier that it's my opinion.
Not even
and obviously, I hope that more people do not share it.
Hey, guys, let Illmatic go, because I know he probably wants to ask some questions. Go ahead, Illmatic.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, this is a very simple question, because I'm actually about to hop in the shower, but I was going to ask Claire, you at least concede that there could be something better out there, right? You at least concede that. It sounded like you were willing to at least concede that there could be something better out there.
Of course, a hypothetical situation that Ethernet was saying, yes, if a better book came along, would I use it? Yes, of course I would use it. If I felt it was better.
Okay, so at least we've gotten to a point of where we can kind of meet some common ground here, like because if say Ethernet proposes a moral system, what would it take for you to, let's say, change your position on homosexuality? Like, does it have to be uttered by or does it have to be claimed by word of God, or is that just something that you believe, like, without a God anyways? Like,
well, it would have to be from. You see, the whole point of me relying on a book believed to come from God is to have this higher authority that supports what I think would work. So, it wouldn't, there'd be no point saying, oh, I like the book Sam Harris wrote, or, any mortal and fallible man, because it would be a lower authority than the word of God, technically speaking. So, that's a reason why I relied on the Quran in the first place. You just go go straight to the top.
Seems to me the only reason that you'd have an issue with it being silly is that you actually believe that, God is real and that you're not an agnostic. But otherwise, I don't see why you couldn't just say it's a just so story and you could insert anybody as an author to create this book.
Because even if I did write a book and it was a bestseller and it did really well, in the end, I am a mortal and fallible woman, and eventually I will die, and people will say, she's dead now, let's do our thing.
No, I got news for you. So is the author of the Quran.
yeah, that's what I was going to say, is the people who wrote the Quran were humans.
Claire,
that may be your opinion, but a lot of people believe it to be the word of God, and because of that reason, it has higher authority than the bestseller by whatever.
Claire,
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you. I was going to ask.
Go ahead. Bro.
I'm sorry, but one more question before I head out. Do you believe that people are infallible and can misinterpret the word of God?
People are fallible, definitely, and
I can say fallible.
I mean, of course, people are fallible. They are too fallible.
Yeah, so then we don't even necessarily know that if the Quran is accurate in its detailing of the word of God, right?
We can sort of work things out through, whether the legal system in the Quran is still working, because if it were no longer functional, then we think, well, better not use it because, it obviously crashed and burned a few centuries ago. Just leave it alone. But if it's, got some kind of a track record and it's still in existence, that would be an argument for using it. I'm not proposing that we use Hammurabi's code.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry. I keep accidentally interrupting. I was going to say, but it seems like your argument hinges off the fact of that it could be the word of God. Now, the thing about it is that you were saying that you're conceding the fact that people are like fallible. People are fallible. They can make mistakes. And the word of God is something that we're trying to interpret people. Now, the word of God also contains like an ethical system that you're trying to propose because it's the word of God. Now, how do I know for a fact that this actually is like God's proposed ethical system? Like, I'm just kind of confused.
We'll never know, and nor will I, which is why I'm an agnostic. I'm just saying, for practical, pragmatic reasons, we choose what we think is the best available system. And it makes sense to me that, if you want to use something, you're going to use the best one available and from the highest authority and the Abrahamic God is the most powerful God conceivable, and he's kind of given an official handbook or an instruction manual, and there are people in the world who are still using it.
Yeah, but I think me that's out yesterday is that Hinduism actually contains the Abrahamic God. Like Yahweh is still, or Allah is still compatible with Hinduism, and he's just considered a lesser being in the eyes of Hinduism. So like, it's your idea of saying that Allah is the most powerful God that there is. Well, no, many religions actually just make the claim that he's not. So I don't understand how you got to the point of where saying the word of God from Allah is the one that we should follow. Because it seems like to me
Hindu scripture is a mess. Have you looked at Hindu scripture?
I mean, have you looked at the Quran?
Why is it a mess?
Yes,
Claire?
yes, I've read it several times in several translations.
Why is it a
It's
mess?
quite a short book compared to the Mahabharata or the Bhagavad Gita or whatever. There's a lot of the Hindu stuff, and it's all written by different people over different ages. They contradict each other, and they're mostly stories. There are no laws,
Why
hardly
is
any.
it a mess, Claire?
Why is Hinduism a mess?
Because it's a religion of a fallen civilization, a twice fallen civilization.
That doesn't have.
I give it a miss.
Just because there's a fallen civilization doesn't entail that the actual documents are a mess. What?
Yeah, like
It's a mess. I mean, have a look at Hindu scripture then if you don't believe me.
Technology has to be thrown out the window, according to your logic. That's how stupid you are.
I would like to maybe try refocus.
all right, I'll be heading out, guys.
Immediately making it better. I'll see you, Matic. Just from looking at how we might just be able to write it better right off the bat. You're looking for secular Quranism. I mean, immediately you could take away 2 of the 7 Noahide laws, surely, couldn't you?
What do you mean?
Blasphemy and idolatry.
What about them?
Well, why couldn't you just be gone with them if you're looking for secular Quranism?
Well, actually, the Quran doesn't punish people for idolatry and blasphemy.
It's not one of the 7 Noahide laws.
Yeah, but it's Islam is a Gentile religion most in conformity with the Noahide laws.
But that's not really my question, though. I'm saying you're trying to.
I'll ask your question again because I didn't understand it.
It's okay, and that's not a problem. So you're going for secular Quranism because it seems like there's some utility there to have cultures adopted as the word, right? It seems like you could knock 2 of the laws off immediately to make it even more secular. Why wouldn't you do that?
I thought we already agreed that there are no punishments for blasphemy and idolatry in the Quran. So.
Okay, well, I guess that's your take. We could go with that. It's fine. I mean, I guess we'll ignore the idolatry and blasphemy then. So how about victimless crimes?
If I might, I'd really like to ask Claire a question. Especially,
Sure,
you've kept asking us for a better book than the Quran, but you've never given us a definition of what better would mean. I'm really curious. What would represent something better than the Quran in your view?
I don't know what you think would be better. I have no idea.
I'm asking what you think would be better.
I don't know. I don't even know. So if you can think of anything better, if you think, the Communist Manifesto is better, or Mein Kampf is better, or whatever is better, then just mention it. But you guys can't even think of another book.
No, but we've thought of several, but you refuse them all, and you don't even know what you're asking for.
Okay, which ones?
We've given you the Quran minus the homophobia. It's already better than
That's
the original
ridiculous
Quran.
because it's still based on the Quran. So
it's based on the Quran, but it's not better, so it's a better book.
Communist Manifesto. Go.
All right, so the Communist Manifesto is better than the Quran.
Okay, well, I've given you a suggestion. Okay, go for it. Convince other people that the Communist Manifesto, your fellow Americans or wherever you come from, that the Communist Manifesto is better than the Quran.
It's not about convincing. You're asking us to give you a better version, and you don't even know what you're asking.
Yes, obviously I am, because it's my view that it's the best available guide, and you guys can't even think of a better one, and you hate the Quran.
No, but you can't even give us a definition of what a better one would mean.
No, I can't read your mind, right?
No, but I'm asking you what a better book would mean. What would it have to be better than the Quran to actually count as better than the Quran?
I have no idea. I'm afraid I can't.
So you don't know what you're asking for.
Well, maybe if I see it, I'll know it. But
that's a that's a bit far-fetched. Like, if I see it, I'll know
Well, so
it.
far, it's good enough that the best available guide is around. I don't need to speculate on something even better. It's like, what would be the point of speculating on
No,
something
I'm asking you what
theoretically
I'm asking
exists?
you on what
I'm not a
criteria.
philosopher. I don't waste my time speculating about things that are just not worth speculating on. You either can think of a better book than the Quran, or you can't. And if you can't, just maybe.
But I'm asking you what criterion would be better than the Quran. I mean, Harry Potter is obviously a better story than the Quran.
I don't know. If you can think of something better, then please give it to me, or just give up the idea.
All right, Harry Potter is a better story than the Quran. It follows a better narrative, and its characters are more developed.
Okay, find somebody to take you seriously then, because I
can find several people to tell me seriously that Harry Potter has a better story.
I take him very seriously. I think.
Yeah, all you have is all you atheists. All right, give a fucking actual argument for once, other than repeating the same garbage. Because all you said so far is I can't think of any other better guide for humanity than the Quran. But when shown several examples that serve as an alternative to the Quran, you just try
no, because I'm not going to take your Harry Potter and my sister's coloring book and whatever. So why don't you just accept that you are defeated on this question? Even though you hate the Quran, you can't think of anything better.
You're just denying it as a better one. So you're asking for a better one, but anything they're going to bring up... I'm asking for...
I had to suggest Communist Manifesto to XGYA. Any other suggestions?
You don't need a god.
He's asking you what you would consider to be better, because what he's trying to say is when he's going to tell you something, all you're going to say is, I think the Quran is better. So he's trying to find out what you think as better than the Quran, so he can give you a good example.
I've already said it's the best available guide, so I don't, I don't know
what things in the Quran you not like. What things? Okay, all you have to say is one thing's in the Quran you do not like, and then he can give you some things that fix that, some different things that are better than the Quran. That's all you have to do. You just say what problems you have with the Quran and what would be a better source. It's that simple.
I don't have a problem. I'm just happy
it doesn't have to be a problem.
It doesn't even have to be a problem.
That I think is better than all the others. I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth and say,
you're telling me to find something.
You're asking for a better one, but you're not going to accept that there is a better one. You're stuck on the fact that it's the best.
I'm asking it from you guys, and you can't even produce anything. And I had to actually suggest that, maybe some of you think the Communist Manifesto is better.
We haven't even gotten there yet. I'd be happy to give you a bazillion better ways to break down a moral code. For one, if you're not... Yeah, go ahead, ask Bob.
Do you believe in the Hadith? Do you believe in the Hadith?
Contradicts the Quran.
No, I mean...
I reject the Hadith where it contradicts the Quran.
I'm not saying it contradicts, but there's some Hadiths that teaches you how to beat your women, right? And also in the Quran, it actually has things in the Quran that's false, right? Like the embryology in the Quran is false. It's not true, right? So you got a book, okay, that tells you the process of embryology is wrong, right? That's a fact. And also you got Hadiths that teaches you how to beat women. So basically, it wouldn't be hard to get...
Actually, in the Quran, it's chapter 434. I know the one you mean. The wife beating verse is actually in the Quran, not the Hadith.
Okay, but I thought it was the Hadith. I'm sorry, because we went to a debate the other day, and in a live debate...
Chapter 4, verse 34.
It admitted that was in there. And also, like I say, there's stuff in the Quran that's false. That is false. It's just not true. So it wouldn't be hard to pick another book that would be better than the Quran just on those things alone, right? Because there's stuff that's false. You have a book that's divinely inspired by God, and there's stuff in the Quran that's false, not true.
I've explained that I'm not invested in the narrative.
Okay, so basically the Quran...
So if you say, this story is stupid or not true...
No, I mean, there's the Quran, apologists in the Quran... preached this for a long time, where the step of embryology was that the bones were formed first, and the ligaments after, the muscles, and then the flesh. Okay, and it gives you step of embryology in the Quran. But all of these things happen simultaneously. The bones, flesh, ligament, muscles all form at the same time. Right? So the way Quran explains embryology is false. It's wrong.
Okay, I'm not going to have an argument with you about, embryology, since I know so little of it.
No way to defend it, but there are some in the Quran that are just factually wrong. Also, the Quran says that if you want to have some kind of a witness to solve the problem, you have to use one Muslim can solve the problem. If you can't find a Muslim, then 2 Muslim women can do the job, right? So women are not equal to men in the Quran, right?
I know the verse you mean is chapter 2, verse 286, I think.
It's not hard to find something in the Quran that's
yeah, you did. This one is about the loan agreement. So there will be loan agreements, and they are contracts, and they need a witness. And one man is sufficient to witness a loan agreement. But if there's only a woman, you need another one. So
yeah,
that's fair enough. As a woman, I think that's fair enough.
It's not hard to find a book, that would treat women equal to men, or that book would be pretty factual. There would be nothing in it that wouldn't be true, right? That would not teach you how to beat a woman. So basically, the Quran is nothing special, right? To me, it's just a ridiculous book because you've got something in there that's not true. Teach you how to beat people, right? Not factual.
It doesn't actually teach you how to beat people. It's talking about a 3-stage process. It actually regulates the whole thing, because otherwise you might just hit your wife before without giving her any warning, because she said something to annoy you, and the Quran actually says no, you can't do that. She might have been a bit annoying, but you can't just lash out at her.
You gotta tell her before you beat your wife.
There are 3 stages, so you admonish her, and if it doesn't work, you separate yourself from her, and finally
beat the shit out of your wife.
Okay, Claire.
You don't actually need to do that. You don't actually need to do that, and I've actually posted on my blog how I would interpret it, and it doesn't require violence at all. And if you really want to, physically chastise her, you give her a slap on the wrist.
Guys, what if they wanted you to
stronger. Guys, can I ask a question real quick? Because yeah, and then you guys can get back to it. Okay, Claire. So, first of all, thanks everyone for coming in. By the way, I appreciate it. But, okay, Claire, this is my opinion. Okay, so you believe, so your excuse for why the Quran is like the book we should follow, right? Is the fact that you believe it comes from, not you believe, maybe I don't know if you believe it, but you say that it's written by God, right? Or that it was inspired by God, right? Is that?
I didn't say. I'm saying it has a higher status than any book written by any mortal man.
Okay, Claire,
and it also comes from a higher source, and that's why I choose it. And I've read it, and I think it's fair enough.
Claire, give me a sec. So, you're saying that the reason why we should follow it is because it's inspired by God, right? That's what you're saying, right?
No, I'm saying, in my view, it will solve a lot of problems that I see as problems, but you may not see them as problems. I also get that.
Okay.
But
okay, so are you? Can I ask you another question? Now, is it possible that something like secular morality combined with other, like someone like let's say a T-Jump, right? Let's say he becomes the president of the United States, like he hopes to do, right? Now, is it possible that we can follow a secular morality and a different economic system that, let's say, T-Jump would implement, and it would be better than the Quran, in your opinion?
It wouldn't have the divine authority of the Quran.
But Claire, you just said that you don't think it comes from God. You just said that, right?
I'm saying one of the reasons why I like it, other than thinking, oh, I agree with it, is that it has a special status of being a higher authority than any book written by any mortal and fallible man.
But you don't actually believe that, though, Claire. You don't actually believe that it comes from God. You don't believe that this book has the highest authority. You said it yourself. It's not from God, so you actually
It could have, because I'm an agnostic, so I must acknowledge the possibility.
Okay, so you're saying that it's possible. So you're saying that it's possible it comes from God. That's what you're saying.
Yes, as an agnostic, I have to consider both viewpoints. Of being of an atheist viewpoint as well as a theist viewpoint.
Okay, Claire, let's say it possibly does not come from God. Now, should I follow it?
Okay. Well, if it is the best available guide, you should follow it, unless you can think of a better one.
Like let's say, for instance, I don't believe in a God, so you can't convince me of a God. And let's say, for instance, that someone comes along and writes a better secular morality, right? Someone like a teacher, let's say, I'll give you an example, like because I know you want a specific example. So like a teacher comes along and he gives you like a better secular morality, right? And so why would I not follow that if I don't believe in God? Than following a book that supposedly comes from God. How would you convince an atheist to follow your morality?
Well, I would say, what have you got against, all these laws that he might say, I don't like it. And I'm saying, well, this law is meant to discourage, this kind of behavior, which will be bad for your society if you don't fix it. And explain the evils that these laws are meant to discourage. So you can explain it, on a, there should be laws against murder, theft, or, usury, or whatever
Claire,
it is.
Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm saying you would not be able to convince an atheist to follow these laws. Do you understand? A secular morality, you might be able to.
But an atheist would understand. But an atheist would also understand that
but an atheist would not believe that it comes from this higher morality.
Believed to be holy by many people would have more authority.
Okay, anyway, guys, go ahead, ask your questions. Bo, if you want to get back to it.
I'll just ask her last one there. So, Claire, do you believe that everything Muhammad did was considered with Allah's authority?
I can't think of anything offhand that is considered wrong. I don't pretend to be an expert on
every decision Muhammad took in his life. You think that he had Allah's consent for what he did?
I don't. I wouldn't know. I mean, I know the Old Testament prophets are allowed to be imperfect and sinful people, and I prefer this Jewish view of their prophets. And then
I'm going to explain what I mean here. Muhammad invaded a village called Bazu Quatra, right? So, and the villagers there did not want to follow the Muslim law. So, when Muhammad found out that this village didn't want to follow the law, he had all the men beheaded, and he enslaved all the women and children. Okay? Could have Muhammad made that decision without Allah's consent? Right?
Because it is a convention of war to kill. It's a convention of war to kill your enemy and enslave the women and children. I mean, it's not something Muhammad invented.
Well, you agree with this, so you're okay with this. I got nothing else to ask, guys. I'm done.
I'm just saying it's a convention of war. I mean, read the play Trojan Women after Troy was sacked.
You just said to follow a book, which no better method. I can come up with a lot better method than beheading all the men in the village and enslaving women and children. To enslave children is just sick. It's just disgusting that anybody...
It's a convention of war. That's what happened in those times. I'm sorry you're not aware of the conventions of war in those times, but that was what people did. They would have a war, and then they would just take the other people, the other group stuff.
That doesn't necessarily make it right.
War.
Just because there were the conditions, doesn't make it right.
Shit happens, war happens. Muhammad was a military and political leader. He had to lead men to fight wars. And, it's a reality of life.
I would
And
never
wars
believe in a God that would allow a prophet to make such kind of decision. That's just disgusting. And any kind of God.
You do know that David, King David was a prophet, right? He did fight a few wars. You know how he killed the big guy Goliath. So King David, fought wars. You are aware of King David and Goliath, how he killed Goliath with a sling.
Not a Christian.
Yeah.
No one cares defending the Bible.
I think you must be aware that religions are about war and law.
Are you Christian?
No.
Then why are you bringing up David?
No, not Christian. I just happen to know of the story.
Well, then, if you're not Christian, if you're not a Christian, then that story doesn't apply to you whatsoever.
I think she's a
well, actually, the Quran does repeat the Bible stories.
So it has David and the Goliath in the Quran.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't repeat the New Testament. But nevertheless, you are all talking about morals now. Or what was this good or was not this not good? And what I'm just hearing, Claire is kind of defending the Quran. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, she is.
But the Quran make a challenge in Surah 482, and exactly this challenge disqualifies this book being from the God, because this has a logical mistake in it. And this verse says, if they I'm just saying that. I'm not really reading from it. It says something like that. If they would know that this book is from anyone else than from Allah, they will find many mistakes in it. And exactly this sentence is a logical mistake, because in formal logic, if you should be able to turn this sentence around and it still make logic. Like, I will give you an example.
Okay, what was it? What was the verse again?
Surah 482.
482. Okay.
Should I find it for you? Because it says just.
I'm about to land on it. So it's 482, and it says,
yes.
Do they not then reflect on the Quran? Had it been from anyone other than Allah, they would have certainly found in it many inconsistencies.
Or mistakes, depending which of the 12 translations you
or contradiction.
Right? Or contradiction, whatever, right? But in formal logic, sentences, if they are conditional, they should make sense, even if you kind of turn them around. So in fact, what this verse is saying, if there are no mistakes in this verse, then this book is from Allah. But there are many books which do not have any mistakes in them, and they are not from Allah, like a phone book, right? So this conclusion that if it would be from no other than Allah, then you will find many mistakes, is wrong. And this is what should convince you that this book is not from Allah. And the funny stuff is, if you find only one mistake in this book, you prove it wrong. And I just did it. So now you know that the Quran...
So what is this mistake that you're referring to, this contradiction and inconsistency?
Okay. So now I have to go word for word. So you know what formal logic is? Like, if there is a sentence, if Pio is a human, then Pio is a mammal. And this is like a statement. And you can turn it around and say it, if Pio is not a mammal, then he is not a human. Do you understand? You're coming with me?
But it doesn't make sense, because you could not be a mammal, but be something else.
The first sentence The first sentence is, if Pio is a human, then Pio is a mammal. Are you agreeing with that?
Yes, I can agree with that. But you say if Pio is a mammal.
No, and you can in formal logic, you can turn this thing around and you can say if Pio is not a mammal, then he is not a human. And it still make the same sense as the first sentence. So the Surah 482 says, if it's not from Allah, then you will find mistakes in it. And if you turn it around, if you not find any mistakes in it, then this book is from Allah. And I can find a phone book where there is no mistakes in it, and it's not from Allah. It's made by me, for example. So this sentence is a logical mistake. Do you understand that?
Which means that the Quran itself.
I understand that verse to say.
It means like every book which has no mistake in it must be from Allah, but it's not true. I can write a book, for example, if I just write 2 + 2 = 4 on 50 sides, right? It will have no mistakes in it. It doesn't mean that it's from Allah. It means it's from
Would
Pio.
be a book then, would it?
Yeah, but it will be a book without any mistakes. And this will not mean...
But nobody will publish it. It wouldn't even be a book.
What has that to do with anything?
You don't need to be published.
No, because your analogy breaks down.
No, it's not breaking down. It just shows the mistake in the Quran.
Write a book better than the Quran. Go ahead. There are quite a few challenges.
No, I just told you.
It's not the point.
Try and write a better
It's
one.
not the point. It's not the point. It just shows you that I can write a book without any mistakes in it.
Are you a published writer? Are you a published writer?
What has that to do with anything?
Yeah, because you keep talking about being able to write a better book. So, go ahead.
A book don't need to have to be published. I can write a book and it is a book. It doesn't mean it.
But nobody would care if you wrote a book or not.
Yeah.
Okay, it might be published, but I bet it would be full of mistakes.
It means
but that is the point. You've already
it just
saying
means
the Quran is false because of the statement.
Because of the statement. Because
okay, you don't have to believe in it. I mean, okay, my position remains. I didn't say it was perfect.
Nothing.
I said that it's the best available guide.
Use that statement again. That entire statement is a mistake because that would be false. Not every book made without mistakes is in Allah. That's a mistake inside of the Quran, which means that the Quran itself is not made by Allah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Fine. You can say, but it's still the best available guide to humanity, in my view.
Oh, but
you don't have to agree with me.
But now you agree that it doesn't have to be from Allah, and just people just say, "Oh,
yeah,
I like this book.
I don't care.
Like this book." Yeah, but it has a mistake in it.
Okay, fine.
And you cannot say you're agnostic now, according to the Quran, because the Quran says, if there will be from Allah, there will be no mistake. This is the challenge to the atheist.
Claire, you said
look, I'm not invested in
you still say
being
that the
from
Quran
God.
is the best for. You're saying that the Quran is still. You still support your claim about the Quran, correct?
Yes, I'm still looking forward to listening to you guys finding a better
kind of strange that it has that much of a mistake in it. Like that's a very huge mistake.
Is it?
Yeah,
it really is because it's basically saying that every single book is made
I don't think so. I
incorrectly.
mean, the sort of formal logic thing. I don't think many people understand his point.
Yeah, but some people did understand. You just refusing.
Okay, well, lucky them. Lucky them. I mean, I don't think you will have, single-handedly destroyed the faith of Muslims just by making the point you did.
It just shows it's your choice. You are not agnostic. You are choosing to believe that.
Whether I believe in God or not, I think it is my view that the Quran is the best available guide.
In a book which is wrong.
Okay, tell me a better guide. What's your idea of a better guide?
Okay, explain to me why the Quran is a good guide.
Because I feel so. It's my
That's not what I asked,
opinion
though.
that it is.
She answered your question. It's her
I asked why you think that, not what you think of the Quran. I said,
think
why do
it
you
is the
think
best
that it's the best
available?
guide?
Okay, I can't. Do I get a chance to answer, or am I being
do.
interrupted? Why do I think that the Quran is the best available guide? Because A, I can't think of a better one.
That's not a good reason, though.
Okay. I'm sorry that my answer disappoints you, but I think it's a book that actually supports my solutions to a lot of problems. And when I read that it supported my solutions, I decided that I would use it.
So it's just based on
Promote my
your
ideas
feelings.
because
You have no evidence for it.
Yeah. Because ultimately it is just my opinion that the Quran is the best available guide, right?
And
Like,
it's
if
the
you're
only
looking-
reason
But
it's the
since
best
you now
available
know
guide.
that
I'm
it's
not
wrong,
saying everybody
Not because it's
agrees with
actually
me,
good in
because
any way.
clearly you guys don't.
If you're looking
The only
to
thing you said is
establish
that the Quran is only
hold
good
on.
because it supports your claims, not because it's actually good in any way.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm telling you why I think it's good. I'm sorry that
But
my
you don't
my answer
understand
is
that
not.
this
It
book
doesn't
makes a
impress you,
challenge
but
which
those are the
excludes it.
reasons.
But this book disproves itself by this verse, right? And now you know that the Quran is wrong, but you're still choosing to say, "Oh, it's
Can you
just."
think of a better? Can you think of a better
Yeah.
guide? And
Yes.
go on, tell us, Pio. What's your better
Oh,
guide?
was the
Yeah.
the golden rule.
It's not enough. That's not a book.
Why do you need a book?
You need a book because you need laws.
Okay,
You can
Claire.
get the 7 Noahide laws from the golden rule.
The no-hide laws are just a kind of rating system for the other religions to work out which religion is the most no-hide,
But-
and that would be Islam.
All right, Claire, can
But
I actually?
Claire-
Okay, Pio,
Yeah.
give me 1 sec, and then you can
Okay.
go further. I'm sorry, just give me 1 sec. Okay, so let me try to ask you this way. Okay, is it logically impossible for someone to write a book that is better than the Quran that does not necessarily come from God? Because like you don't even believe it comes from God. So is it logically possible? I'm saying, is it possible for someone to write a book that's better than the Quran? Is that logically possible?
This is all subjective. I've read a few books in my life. There have been other books that I've actually enjoyed reading, more than the Quran. Okay, so I'm not quite sure what the question even means. And if I did find a better book, I mean, it would be maybe a novel or something else that I enjoy more. But I'm talking about the best available guide to humanity because of the laws it contains.
All I'm asking, Claire, all I'm asking is about logically, logically possible means, right? Like, if it's logically possible, then that means that there's a possibility that this could happen, right? And I'm just asking, is it logically possible that this could happen? So, like, is it logically
It's possible that
You
I might
understand?
like a book better than the Quran.
Yes, is it logically possible for us to write a book that's better than the Quran, that has better moral standards and all that we can follow, that doesn't necessarily come from God? Is that logically possible?
No, because what will happen with a bunch of atheists writing their book, they'll be fighting each other to say that their book is best of all. And they will, being mortal and fallible men, they might,
Claire,
hurt each other and kill each other to be the best one, and then
Right.
they themselves will die, and their work will die with them.
Okay, so what's the logical contradiction?
What?
What is the logical? You said it's not possible, so what's the logical contradiction?
Is it not possible for mortal and fallible men writing as mortal and fallible men to equal the authority of the Quran? I mean, isn't it obvious that if God exists, His word would.
What if I was a ghostwriter for
I'm
a
sorry,
god?
Pio, but you won't have destroyed the faith of Muslims in the Islam in the Quran just by what you said. They won't be accepting your authority.
challenge from
They
the
won't be
Quran.
accepting your authority.
You said you had a problem with small fallible men being the author. What if I was just a ghostwriter for another god?
It's such a dumb question. I'm not even going to bother
okay.
answering it.
I mean, the Quran was written by a ghostwriter, so.
Yeah. So again, Claire, in fact, the Quran makes a challenge. I prove the Quran wrong, but you're still saying that this book, because
I don't accept your authority. I do not accept your
I'm
authority.
accepting.
Here.
No, you don't have to accept mine authority. It's not like I wrote the Quran and
another Muslim.
I'm just saying the Quran makes a challenge. I found an irrefutable mistake in it. And the thing is that the Quran itself says, if you find a mistake, then the Quran is totally wrong. So now you know it's wrong. And you just choosing to say
it's still the best available guide. It's still the best available guide, even
whatever.
With the
but now you know. But you can just agree it's not from God. But because this is the challenge from the Quran,
I never
not
claimed
from
it
me.
was from God. I'm an agnostic. Do you realize that I'm an agnostic?
Okay, so
you don't have
you just say, "Oh, Vanilla Ice is the best. Therefore, I believe in the Quran." So this is your argumentation.
No, I didn't say that. I mean,
no, this is what you said.
Of you saying silly things and pretending I said it?
I'm just I'm making an analogy because now you know, because it's the challenge from the Quran. Find a mistake, then you will know it's not from God. I found a mistake. Even
with these mistakes that you say are mistakes, the Quran is still the best available guide to humanity.
You are talking now against the Quran because the Quran claims there are no mistakes. And you are saying there are mistakes, but I will still believe in it, which will mean you are
I'm saying it's the best available guide, even if it has mistakes. All right, Pio? Is that clear now? It's still the best available guide.
Yeah, so we can choose whatever we want just of our preference. And this is what I said. Oh, it tastes like vanilla. That's why I'm choosing Quran.
I don't understand your convoluted.
He's basically saying that although it's not vanilla, but it tastes like it. That's why he's choosing it.
The other problem.
So he's basically saying although it's not
going to argue with him.
The other problem is you keep asking us to see how we might write another book, but then you would never accept a book written by atheists. So how about what if a Muslim just improved the Quran in a way that an atheist might?
Oh, they would dream of doing such a thing because they have to accept that it came from God, and if they tampered with it, then God would be mad.
Why is that a problem for you?
So I don't think you can.
You don't believe in God?
I don't want to tamper with it. Why would I? It's good enough because it's the best available.
Okay, Claire. Let's say I got this holy book from.
Good enough isn't the best though.
Wait, Storm. Give me a sec. Let's say I got this holy book from the Flying Spaghetti Monster. Okay, now, and it's better than the Quran. Is that possible? From the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
There is no Flying Spaghetti Monster.
How do you know?
There's an Allah, though, right?
There's not a logical contradiction with that.
But there's an Allah.
Okay, so now I'll be condemned for not believing in the Flying Spaghetti Monster. I mean, why can't I have serious questions, please?
These are serious, Claire.
Claire, I'm being as serious as I possibly can.
They're so dumb. They're getting dumber. I think you guys are getting
Claire,
tired.
You are just
this is going to be my final statement to you. In the Quran, it says that the Quran makes no mistakes, but we just proved there was a mistake. Which also means that every single thing in the Quran could also be a mistake.
I don't care. I never said it came from God. It's still the best available guide to humanity, even with
you just said that nobody would be able to make a better one because it comes straight from God.
Okay, but make a better one then.
No, you just said it doesn't come from God, but then earlier you say it comes from God.
When you were talking earlier, you said
I said I'm agnostic. I'm indifferent to it, and you can still.
No, you are not agnostic. You're preferring the Quran. We just proved the Quran wrong, and you're still preferring it. So
because you still haven't produced a better guide. You can't even name the thing that you think is better.
I would say the better stuff is
just because there isn't a better guide doesn't make the Quran automatically the best.
Well,
That's like saying okay, look, that's
that
like
is
saying that
exactly
there's
what it
3 ice cream
means. That is
flavors that you
exactly what
absolutely
it
hate, but
means.
better than all the others. That doesn't make it good.
I'm just talking to people who say we want to win the argument, even though we can't win the argument. You can't think of a better guy. After all this time, how long have I been in this
We
server?
know we won when you
asking
keep
you
going
this
back
question
to the
again
same
and again,
thing
and you
over
could
and
be
over.
googling and looking after up stuff to find a
I've
better
been playing
guy,
the game this
and you
entire
still
time. I haven't looked
can't.
at Google.
Golden rule. And don't hand wave the
It's not
Noahide
enough.
laws. I saw a video of you saying that they are paramount.
Yes, I'm saying that the Noahide laws should be used to rank the 4 Gentile religions according to their conformity with the Noahide laws. That's all it's supposed to do. But the Jews don't agree. But, what can I do?
I don't care about that.
All right. Hey, guys, give me a sec. Anyone that has any other questions, please raise your hand. I appreciate everyone coming in. Anyone have any other questions for Claire, please raise your hand. I'll let you guys in. I know you. All right. There's one person that wants to come in. All right, guys, keep going. That's fine. Ethan, I keep going.
I just like to,
Keep going, brother.
I just like to know, like, if you peel off and blasphemy, and you just have the 5 Noahide laws that are somewhat secular, how does the golden rule just not already be a better, simple phrase besides this, gobbledygook book?
I don't understand your question.
Knocking off idolatry and blasphemy from the Noahide laws, right?
Would you say the Quran doesn't punish idolatry?
Well, you would say differently on a video.
Punish idolatry and blasphemy. So what's your problem now?
Okay, so for the 5 remaining, you can just use the golden rule. Why do you need the Quran?
I don't actually understand your question.
Does anybody know what I'm saying?
Just repeat, Ethernet. Just repeat it again. Just repeat it again, brother. Just
forget blasphemy and idolatry, right? The 5 remaining Noahide laws. Okay, anybody can Google them. All right. How does the golden rule not get you to those 5 laws, anyways? Without the Quran, all the rest of the bullshit of the book, all the baggage.
You understand, Claire?
Golden rule is just one rule. It's not enough.
Yes, but it gets you. Yes, but it gets you all the laws. Like, you can literally take each law and see that if you follow the golden rule, you never end up in any situation where you would be violating those laws.
Yeah, well, then why is the world not the way you like it?
Well, people like to fuck it up with religion.
Rule? What?
Just like you said.
You just think that everything will be solved if people follow the golden rule. Is that what you think?
No, but I'm saying how you could do better immediately. I'm saying how you could immediately do better.
How?
Oh, Jesus.
Claire, do you understand what he's saying?
I really don't understand.
Claire, he's saying that with the golden rule, things would get better, right? He's not saying it would be perfect. He's saying it would get better. And it's better than the Quran.
Okay, I'm asking him how. I mean, we all know what it is. We all know what the golden rule is.
So when you drop the baggage of everything else, religion, then you'll start to see things clear up.
Okay, that's your solution about how to make the world better. Well, why don't people?
Not really, and not in totality. I mean, I've never sat down and written how it could be done, but I have plenty of ideas that I don't really care because it doesn't, deal with the. It's pretty easy to see the immediate impact of just being able to change it, and that simple step.
Okay, well, maybe you should argue for it formally then.
I don't run into people. Secular religious books are the way to go, so I don't run into people like that. Except for here.
All right.
So does Victoria...
Go ahead, Claire.
Okay, wait. Victoria, you wanted to come in here and ask a question, right?
Yeah, I did. Can you hear me okay?
Go ahead, Demon.
Yeah. I can hear you.
So I'm just curious, took a look at your YouTube channel, which kind of, as I was waiting for my car to get fixed for several hours, and I came across a bunch of articles that showed some kind of damning photos of you. So I want to kind of confirm if these photos are of you, and it's pictures of you holding different types of weapons, with, you know, Nazi flags in the background. Can you speak to that?
Whoa.
Oh, come on.
You're referring to the Vice article, right? Yes.
Yeah, but there was others. I mean, that's not the only one. There's the Vice one, but then there's, you know, lots of people who point back to that, you know, other ways. But yeah, that's one article that came up.
Demon, could you DM me those articles, please?
Yeah, can you just send me a message, because I wasn't sure, and I'll send them to you, no problem.
Yeah, okay.
So if you could talk a little bit, because I saw that and I said, you know, and I didn't spend all day researching this to confirm that was in fact you, but it seems to point to that being you. So could you give us some context on what that was about?
Oh, sure. I basically was a member of the BNP. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah, I have, and I read a little bit about that too.
Yeah, and then I was expelled, and I basically didn't want to fade away. So I accepted this invitation of this northerner who lived in the north of England to come and help him win an election, a local election that he wanted to become the town councillor. And he came down to London to see me, and I thought I might as well do that because I wasn't any longer a member of the party, and I didn't want it thought that I had given up on politics. So I I accepted his invitation, and he was one of those people who had those things, and I couldn't resist posing for those photos.
Okay, I guess. Okay. I don't know. I'll just leave my opinions out of that. Another thing. What is your current position on disabled babies or disabled children?
I wouldn't like to bring up one myself.
Right. So there's like a quote here where you had said at some point in the past, parents should have the power of life and death over their children. I would not bring up a disabled child. I would tell the midwife that I wouldn't mind if she accidentally dropped it on its head to save me from doing it myself.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't, you know, I ran across that too. So I don't think, you know, optics wise that, you know, is great. And I don't know how well that fits into your, you know, beliefs right now of what you're talking about.
Well, it's still
and just a couple other things.
I would still.
Sorry, one more time.
Not.
Are you saying that the Quran told you to say that?
Not bring up a severely disabled infant.
So, and then suggested that you know, somebody in the family, midwife, whoever, should just, you know, put it out of its misery.
It's a joke, isn't it? It's a joke about being dropped on one's head.
No, I don't think I would.
It doesn't. You know, maybe we different opinions, but that doesn't come across as a joke. Moving on, just a couple other things, and then I'll be quiet. Do you still stand by reintroducing public executions, public floggings?
Yes. Well, if you're going to have executions, you might as well have and corporal punishment. You might as well have it in public. For the deterrent.
Okay, so you still support execution. You support. I think you've said this before, but you know, might as well do it in public, like, you know, this guillotine days. Okay.
Kind of weird.
Reintroduce slavery.
Whoa! Hold on. What the? What? Yo. Okay.
Legalize brothel keeping.
Where are you finding all this stuff?
I don't know. Like I said, I was waiting for my car to get fixed, so you know.
It's on my blog.
It's the Sharia law, right? You have to behead.
So I mean, what I'm asking in Claire's defense is this your current, you know, opinions now? You know, is what I'm saying accurate?
I do not deny that I'm in favour of capital and corporal punishment. In fact, the Quran affirms this principle.
So what about slavery?
We have an agnostic Quranist, right?
The Bible and the Quran do not forbid slavery. Forbid a lot of things, but not slavery.
So you are not agnostic. You are a theist. Just admit it.
I'm stating a fact. I'm stating a fact. The Quran.
Yeah, but you're referring to the Bible
slavery.
laws, the Quran laws, and stuff. So you're not agnostic. You're a believer. You are a believer, right?
You already know that I have said I would follow the book, and I have to follow the book.
Okay,
right?
Claire. So what you're telling me right now, Claire, give me a sec. So what you're telling me right now, based on what Victoria just said, which I did not know, but based on what she said, you're saying that it's better, in your opinion, to have a country or like a government that actually enforces slavery and all the other things she said, right? Like I'm not sure about the dropping the baby on its head. Like that's, to me, that's very, I mean, deplorable. But in terms of like slavery and
It's a joke. You haven't heard that expression.
I don't. Well, I don't know if it's a joke or not. And honestly, like even saying it
is a joke. I heard my.
That's fine, Claire. If it's a joke, that's fine. But it's not a funny joke, and it's not really like I wouldn't. It's non like I don't have the taste for it. Basically, like that's what I'm saying.
I know you don't, but this is a context in how it is told.
It's fine.
Did somebody drop you on your head when you were a baby? They say it to you if they think you've said something stupid.
Claire,
I know Native Americans do
that's
that.
fine. That's fine. Okay. So let's get back to the slavery. Let's get back to the slavery. Okay. Is it better for a society to have slavery in it? In your opinion?
I believe that institutions should be regulated.
He didn't ask about
rather than criminalized. And I'm saying marriage and prostitution and slavery are institutions. So if you try to mess with these bargains that people
Claire, and you're saying that an atheist can write a better book with better morals than one that institutes slavery. That's what you're saying right now.
Yeah. Because it wouldn't have the authority of God. Because,
I'm going to run past you with
if it's just your opinion, it's your opinion to be in
Claire,
favor of slavery.
I've tried this entire time to be very kind to you, and I've tried to be very not I'm just worried about this, like honestly, like you really need to change your mind on these things, like because it's obvious that you're delusional. I mean, I'll just be honest with you. And I think everyone here agrees with me. So that's just my opinion.
On what matters am I
You're very delusional, but I'll let Pio go ahead. Go ahead, Pio.
Can you tell me what it is
you're
that
very
you think
delusional.
I'm deluded about?
You're very delusional. How can you?
I have to be deluded about something.
How can you believe? Okay, I don't care about authority. It's about when you're talking about a moral system. Like we all agree, at least most of us agree that slavery is wrong, right? At least now in this time period, okay? And it's because stronger. Give me a sec.
Slavery, right?
And it's because morality evolves, like everything else. It evolves over time, right? So we become better.
I think it's the same. There are eternal and universal laws.
Okay, Claire, I'm going to ask you.
The no-hide laws are the eternal and universal laws, and it says nothing about forbidding slavery.
But you just compared marriage from today with slavery and prostitution. It's like I married my wife after 17 years, right? We married. So tell me now, is she the slave of mine or I'm a slave of her?
Actually, I have said that marriage is a contract of mutual enslavement. So you're each other's slave.
Oh, but that's fun, right?
I hope you enjoy yourselves.
Yeah, but slavery means I cannot escape and I'm not allowed. And if I do,
well, the thing is, I mean, there is a view that we are all the slaves of God.
Claire, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, but right before I'm going to probably head out. The first question I have, I'm just going to run past what we have previously talked about just to get because I was gone for a little bit and I want to just be 100% sure. So your thoughts on slavery is that it should be brought back and should be used currently in this day?
because it would be a form of workfare.
Okay. My second question is
an alternative to the welfare state.
You believe that in this day we should bring back public execution. In what way? Guillotine, like beheading, like hanging, like.
I
said
haven't
you
actually
believe
thought
in
about
public
that.
execution, right?
I mean, it was just so far away that I hadn't thought about it. I mean, whatever people agree with. I mean, I'm not going to say, it's got to be lethal injection. It's got to be electric chair.
Yeah.
I guess whatever the people of the country, when they get to that point, they can say, it's got to be this method or that other method. I'm not.
What
going
does
to
the
be
Quran
prescriptive.
say about that? Will
It
you go
doesn't
with
actually
that?
say. It doesn't actually say it's got to be beheading or electric chair or whatever. It doesn't say. It's silent on those things. It doesn't even talk about stoning.
Okay, so now that we've gone that through, you believe that these things are okay because the Quran doesn't say anything about it. So you believe that the Quran justifies these things, and that just because what the Quran says and what it does not say, you believe these
It does support the principle of the death penalty. So I can't deny that.
Okay, but for slavery, you think that because the Quran does not say anything about slavery, you think it is okay?
It does. It tells people to free slaves. So, as a kind of penance, you did something wrong, you free a slave or two to show you're sorry and that kind of thing. But it never says abolish it. In a way that it says abolish. Usually, it's you have to do it.
I have
But slavery is kind of tolerated.
Because it does not say abolish slavery in the Quran, you believe it's okay.
I'm just telling you what the book says, right?
No.
I have to tell you what the book says. You don't agree.
This is the last question. If you answer this, I'll be completely done.
Okay.
You think that because slavery is abolished, or because it does not state that slavery should be abolished, you believe slavery is okay and it should be bring back in this current time?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have to ask.
Okay, so I have now a question. Now I have something from another religion, which you are saying that is not the same, has not the same value, because you said death penalty is okay because the Quran says so. Or did I misquote you in any kind of way?
It actually says that the death penalty should only be used when the interests of justice require it.
Only. Okay, but it should
be. That's what it says. I'm sorry if it disappoints you, but it says
it should be applied. In some cases, right?
When the interests of justice require it, it doesn't say just death for it. Every little thing.
So what about
like in the Torah,
Okay, so what about a book which says death penalty is wrong? That's why we have no death penalty in Europe, because people are thinking that at some point people might change their ways and can be back in a good part of a society. Don't you think that this kind of thinking is better than, we should kill them because they did so and so?
Well, if you compare the homicide statistics, the murder rate since
I'm not asking you about
penalty was abolished, you will see that it has gone up. So this is something for
that's not true.
To bear in mind.
That's not true.
It is true. It is true.
The murder stuff is equal on each side. Nobody is afraid of being putting to death, and he doesn't.
Which country do you come from?
I'm in Europe, but I'm just comparing.
Which European nation do you come from? So we can check these statistics.
I'm living in Germany, right? But there are people in the US of A which are saying that, because we have the death penalty, because of that, there'll be less murder.
That is not true whatsoever, because I live in the USA.
And then look up the statistics. So for sure.
Okay, we can look at the statistics, and I haven't got them to mind.
Okay, Claire, just think of it this way. Just think of the mindset of someone who's going to murder somebody. You think they care about being caught? If they cared about being caught and didn't want to get killed, then they wouldn't have been trying to murder somebody in the first place.
We don't know how each criminal thinks.
No, that's
but we do.
But anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter because it's like somebody's been killed and therefore there is a murderer and the punishment should fit the crime. Or don't you think that?
No,
what if somebody you love? You think, oh, it's okay.
This is exactly the thing. We know the statistics.
And do a university degree when they're in prison, watching TV and going to the gym. Well, they after they murdered somebody you loved. I mean, maybe you don't think that's ever going to happen to you, and you can be forgiving on behalf of victims of crime that you will never meet. Have you considered that?
No, the thing is that we have statistics of people living in countries where there is no death penalty and there is a death penalty, right? And it's what you are saying that the death penalty will tell the people who are committing a crime not to do it. That's wrong, right?
Okay, I'll have to look into that.
Wait. I'm not finished. Yeah, you can look it up and you'll see I'm right. Okay? For sure. 100%. So, and the other thing I will tell you, if you are against murdering people, shouldn't you behave like that? Like you don't murder people and you let them a chance to be, even if they did commit a murder, right? I'm asking her, not you. Okay?
Yeah, I know. There's just something that I just got message. Is it true that you were, Claire? Is it true that you were arrested for spreading lies about someone with Tourette's?
Now we are going to a different topic. What has to do with anything? We have to. I don't care. Gives a shit about that. We are talking about her views.
Yeah, guys.
I haven't murdered anyone. Just for the record.
That's fine. Don't bring up anything. I mean, everyone has mistakes, has done mistakes. I mean, no one's perfect, but we're just here to talk about her views because, I mean, just talking about her views is kind of interesting. I would say we don't need to get into anything else.
I was gonna bring that to views about her.
Yeah, go for it, brother. Yeah, go for it.
So, Claire, do you have views on certain disabilities with people?
I'll go after Stronger Atheist.
Oh, this is so boring. Obviously, people can't help suffering from disabilities, and I'm not known to be mean to them. So, what is your question?
Well, you just said you're not known to be mean to them, but I mean, there's a lot of articles. That's okay. My question is, what are your thoughts on them? Do you think that they are a disgust and sent from God, or do you think that it's just something that is unlucky?
I don't think they're unlucky. I mean, some people can't help being disabled.
But if you believe in God, how could God create them like that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you were to believe, why would Allah?
I mean, I don't know why people keep asking that question again. Did God promise us a rose garden? Did He say everything would be perfect? Otherwise, it would mean He doesn't exist.
Oh, if He is a perfect God, He creates everything perfect.
You're not even getting the correct narrative of God.
So you're saying that You're saying that Allah is not perfect.
No,
the blind watchmaker.
This is how we're supposed to perceive life on Earth. This is a kind of examination hall, and if we pass the exam, we get to go to the good place. That is the narrative.
Okay, wait, yeah.
That is the narrative of the Abrahamic God.
Again, Claire, you are not
when people bring that up because
you are lying to us. You are a Muslim.
So you're saying that Earth is like an exam. It's like a test to get into the better world.
The test that you never
That's
studied.
what the people who believe in God think. Don't you
Now,
know
why
that?
would
Oh,
okay?
that's
Now
a lie.
let's
I think I've heard that.
let's get on to childbirth death. Why would God send somebody into the world just to instantly die? If it was a test, why would He instantly take them out?
Let's go first with their first claim, because she said it is a test, and this is a claim from Islamic point of view, and that's not true for all religions. So it just shows that she is a Muslim. She is not agnostic. She is a Muslim through and through.
Are you talking about reincarnation or something? Buddhism?
No,
I'm talking, for example, about Ricky Pundla religion. Did you ever heard of that?
What?
Ricky Pundla religion? Yeah.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, so you don't know. But what you are stating, it's written.
Well, I don't think anybody's heard of it either. The two forms of afterlife. You have reincarnation and you have the idea of going to heaven or hell, right? This is, it doesn't matter which, because there is this idea of punishment after death. So if you've been bad and evil, you get reincarnated into a lower, a lower form of life or lower kind of human being, and you suffer accordingly in your next life, or that there is the alternative of you either go to heaven or hell. But anyway, the idea
hell is a Christian invention. Didn't exist in Judaism.
It's also a Muslim one, okay?
Yeah. Muslim is Judaism 3.0. It has nothing to do with Judaism. But hell does not exist in Judaism. It's a Christian invention.
Oh, the Jews do talk about their olam haba, which is the afterlife. And some ultra-Orthodox Jews do believe in reincarnation.
But there is no hell. I'm talking about hell.
No, it's obviously not very developed in Judaism and Islam.
Not very developed. It means just the only thing what you. So let me tell you that, because you are talking shit. In Judaism, you can be separated from God for 11 months. That's all. After 11 months, you learned your lesson and you are with God. No hell, no punishment, nothing.
Well, there are ultra-Orthodox Jews who believe in reincarnation.
You see your neighbors. This is probably the most connected community.
So obviously there's a range of belief, and I think if Jews are allowed to believe in either reincarnation or heaven or hell, then
no, nobody believes
I guess
in hell.
they're not that bothered as long as they have the idea that they're going to be punished in the next life or rewarded in the next life for what they've done in this life. So as long as a general principle of there being an afterlife.
You're just
I think
misrepresenting stuff. You don't know shit about that. Just talk.
So you're an expert on Judaism now, are you?
Hold on. Payo,
Payo,
you've been extremely uncharitable, man. Let her finish, and then there's no reason.
Have you even been here?
Sorry,
That's just a question. Have you been here?
Thank you.
No, but the time I have been here has been extremely hostile to her.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, no, Eddie's right. Eddie's right. Pio, you should just don't be so harsh.
I'm sorry.
I understand. I understand that her views are a little, different, but we should be respectful. I mean, Eddie's right. So, and Eddie, thanks for coming in, by the way, and I appreciate you calling that out. And if you have any questions, go ahead for it, brother.
Yeah, I wanted to just kind of listen and get up to speed and stuff. I'm not sure. I mean, I just want. We need to focus on the view itself and not particularly the person, because we're all subject. And I know, Frank, you do a pretty good job of it. I just happened to pop in at the time that there seemed to be a lot of banter and, multiple questions and things. And it just seemed like it was a bit unfair, but I'm just going to listen and try to get caught up.
Yeah, that's fine. If you need to know, Eddie, Claire is a agnostic Quranist, so she has views that the Quran should be instituted, the laws of the Quran, but she herself is an agnostic. So that if that helps in any way, then then you can go for it whenever you're ready. Anyway, keep going, Pio. If you can be a little less,
No,
go for
I'll
it.
be quiet. I'm sorry because I know I got just a little bit emotional. And thank you for Eddie to pointing this out to me. But I just said that Claire misrepresented a part of
Yeah,
an
you're
Abrahamic relative.
yeah, you're not
About
totally
the
wrong
Jewish
about
view
that.
on heaven or hell, Pio. So I didn't make it up.
It's yeah,
And I'm
it's
sending it to the
actually
others.
yeah, it's a very controversial topic in Judaism about hell because a lot of the time Sheol was used as just the grave, and there are other times that certain people, such as the mystics and things, alluded to a realm of the dead where it was undesirable and unpleasant. But Pio's right about the kind of hellfire and brimstone. The Dante's Inferno was a total makeup by the early church, and the idea we have of hell is not even close to what Judaism of those who has any idea of afterlife. Most Judaism or traditional Jews believe that the soul and the body were one, and that there wasn't necessarily an eternal life or heaven or hell. That the Messiah, those that were messianic, the Messiah was going to deliver the world or deliver Israel first, and then the world through Israel for a peaceful, happy reign. So there's a lot of added things there from Christianity. So both of you are actually partly right about it.
Eddie, do you mind if I DM you just a video that I happen to record? And you just take a
Absolutely.
look at it for me? Thank you.
Sure.
Right. I'm going to go ahead and just message you.
I did want to ask Claire though, and Pio also. I'm with you. Is I'm a passionate person. It took me a long time to kind of put it into a more charitable tone. So that's calling you out wasn't, hey, you're an asshole, stop doing that kind of thing. It's I noticed patterns of what I did for a long time. It's things we're passionate about. I mean, we're going to get excited sometimes.
Yeah, Pio, quiet down, you asshole.
But I do want to know how a book that's supposed to be divinely inspired should be implemented if one rejects the divine inspiration of it. It doesn't make any sense to me why, Claire, you would hold to.
This is actually one of the things that I was thinking about when I wasn't in the stage. I was like, what happens when inevitably the people find out that, oh, Islam, well, let's say hypothetically, Islam isn't real, and the people find out about it. What happens then?
Good question.
Because it's like, if there's a limit on innovation, it's not good innovation. That creates a wall, a barrier that people can't break through. Do you
actually? What is your question? It's first about it. Secondly, it's about innovation. Firstly, is about what if Muslims lose their faith?
Well, it was actually about it was when you said as long as it doesn't break Quranic law, innovation, you can innovate all you want. And I was thinking, okay,
what is not forbidden is allowed. Is what I'm trying to say.
Anything not forbidden is. Sorry, can you explain it?
Oh, you have the idea that what is not forbidden is allowed, don't you? I mean,
no. I have the idea that what happens when the people they find out about something that they find out that that Allah isn't the one true God. What happens then? Do they is that sort of like, are those studies thrown out, or like what happens?
I wouldn't know. I mean, I guess there will always be, people who want to believe and people who don't want to believe, and there will always be this tension. But I guess the laws will just carry on unless people don't want to enforce them anymore. And then your civilization will decline as the rule of law breaks down.
Can I ask you something, Claire?
Sure.
So the Quran is not very clear about many things and appears to directly contradict itself in several areas, which is why we have multiple hadiths. So are you talking about implementing a specific line of thought with a specific Muslim or specific imam or a hadith?
No, it's all my own input. It's all my interpretation. Obviously, it has to be. Otherwise, I'd say, you guys just adopt the, Hanbali, Shafi, whatever school that of Sharia that they have, and obviously, I am legally trained. I was legally trained. I did read the Quran. I have a few ideas about how it should be implemented, and they are original and unique to me, I believe. So it would be my interpretation of the Quran.
So what would make your interpretation of the Quran the right interpretation to implement and impose on a greater society?
Well, I think my interpretation would appeal to Westerners a bit more than their kind of interpretation. So I hope one day, my different interpretation will be discussed in a bit more detail when we get past the usual, basic questions about, whether I'm agnostic or not or whatever. Obviously, you will only discover that if you can bring yourselves to read the Quran and then be able to ask more challenging questions on it. Because I know there was somebody earlier who said, well, there's this verse in the Quran and it's bad. And I say, well, you have to say which one it is. And he clearly hadn't read it, but he wanted there to be, but he couldn't produce it because he hadn't read it. And I think it would be useful if people could read it so they can, either confirm that it's this terrible book that they seem to think it is, or maybe think, oh, it's not so bad after all, and then we could have a more productive discussion about it. And that is really what I hope.
So this will be a last question. I'll let somebody else question. Would you say more along the lines that we have most mainstream religions? Okay. Sorry about that. I cut out.
Sorry, you cut out a bit. I didn't hear that.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Again. Yes.
Okay. Most mainstream religions have a common morality and a common theme. Would you be more of a champion to say those things that are commonly seen as good by most societies and because obviously just a cursory reading of any ancient scripture, you're going to come away with things that you have a lot of questions about that they implemented and allowed. But there seems to be these meta ethical things that are common to most of them, like taking care of the poor, taking care of, widows and just your fellow man.
Widows and orphans and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So would you be more championing a more common kind of morality? Or is it like there are specific things such as Sharia law that needs to be implemented?
Well, the Quran does encourage charity and does talk about widows and orphans and not mistreating them. So the idea of charity is already there. What I think Westerners might like is my interpretation of a 20% flat rate income tax. They might like the idea of abolishing usury, which would be the ability to default on their debts. Because I know the West is very much over borrowed and over its head in debt, and it can allow governments and individuals to default on their debts. So that might be considered useful, and then property prices would come down and be more affordable, and everything can be reset in a way that is better than it has been so far.
I can get on board with a flat tax. I can definitely get on board with a flat tax. Is that taught in the Quran?
Well, there is a verse that says, give to. I think it says give to the prophet a fifth of what you have, and I thought, well, I'm going to interpret it as a 20% flat rate income tax. And there may be people who disagree, but I think it's a useful thing to have, because I think the rich and the poor can get on board with this, because it seems fair enough. 20% is the magic number when you think, it's not so much that I'm going to go out of my way and hire expensive tax and tax accountants and tax lawyers to get out of paying this. It's like, it's hardly worth avoiding. I'll just cough up and pay the tax, and the governments will find that more people are prepared to pay it because it's reasonable, and that there would we would get to a state of people willingly paying their taxes, provided it's not too much. And the brains of accountants and lawyers would be directed to more socially useful purposes and avoiding tax.
Okay, so it sounds like you're just developing a socio-political system based off of things you think will be beneficial and agreeable from the Quran, which I'm not totally against. But my thing is, when the Quran and Islam, as I remember, is fully for a theocracy, and even as a theist, I don't want a theocracy. Are you talking about having a theocracy, or just a socio-political system that uses certain principles from the Quran?
It would be a theocracy. I do call it a one-party theocracy. I'm sorry that makes it sound even scarier, but I don't see how else it can be run but as a one-party state.
Yeah, that would definitely be.
That's how it's going. I mean, I have thought it through, and yes, it would have to be a theocracy, because it would be meaningless to say, oh, we just inwardly agree with these things, but in practice we do something else. I mean, what would be the point? And anyway, we already know from Muslim countries that they do have this thing called Sharia. They try to put in their law, what the Quran says they should and shouldn't do. Obviously, they have interpreted the Quran wrongly, and that's why the Ottoman Empire fell. A lot of countries have had different interpretations of their religion over the centuries, and we know that Christians used to think that usury was wrong, until they decided it was okay. So there is still out about whether it's still legal if you're Christian, because the Vatican has a bank, and and we know that before, Martin Luther thought usury was an absolute no-no, until John Calvin popped up and said, no, hey guys, it's okay, we can do usury. So I actually wouldn't disagree. I think that most Christians morally would say that it's wrong, but in practice, they're totally okay with it. That's why I would also be for a flat tax, and it should only be a sales tax, a consumption tax. If you consume, you pay. And
That way, nobody gets to skirt any tax laws. There's not any loopholes or anything. It should all be sales tax. And it
The only
should
problem with a direct tax, with a tax like that, I'm afraid, is that it will affect the poor disproportionately.
Well, no, because they consume less, so they wouldn't be paying near as much in taxes. So if we just say 10%, then somebody buys, $100,000 car, and they're paying 10 grand in taxes. Somebody buys $1,000 car, they're paying $100 in taxes. So I don't think that it's something that would disproportionately, because they consume less by definition of who they are. And not only that, I wouldn't be against certain tax breaks for the impoverished. If you make under a certain income, you can have a card or something that your tax rate is lower. I would be totally okay with that. I'm more concerned with those who have the money and ability to skirt tax laws. That would be the ones I would be more concerned with, making sure that they're paying their fair share. But the whole one-party system thing, we've seen here in the U.S. extreme amount of lack of representation with a two-party system. I think that we should have more parties, not less. Because if they don't,
there are lots of parties in the UK, but people are not feeling that their views are being represented either. Because if you're not within the two-party system, then you're basically out. You're treated as second, third class and ignored in effect.
Yeah,
it took UKIP 20 years to get their referendum. 20 years.
Yeah, you're right. And we do have a lot of parties here, too. What I meant was the stronghold that the two parties have, but that has a lot to do with the political reform to where, third party has to have, an independent party has to have so many votes in an election to even get a spot on a stage in a debate. And that's garbage. So there's a lot of things that we could change politically here that would level the playing field for a third party, which I think would do phenomenal for the country. But I would be scared to put that much power into one party.
Well, the thing is, what has been said about China's one-party system and the West is that, said by Westerners living in China, and they say that China may have a one-party state, but it does change its policies. The West may have all their different parties, but they never change their policies. So, would you agree with the statement or not?
No, I disagree. I think China, in fact, the reason that China has seen the success that it's seen lately is because it's actually adopted more capitalistic measures, but it's still controlled by the central government. So they are opening more to a mix. The U.S. is not a pure capitalistic society. I mean,
all countries are mixed economies to an extent, aren't they?
Right. Yeah. And we have a lot more mix than what people think. And that's what China's done, although they're still on the, socialistic, communistic, authoritative side. They have implemented enough to be more competitive and successful on the world stage. But if we look at what's happening to human rights in China, it is atrocious what the government is doing, like what they did to the Tibetans for so long, and I think still oppressing.
But could we just talk about the American system? I really don't want to talk about the human rights kind of thing, but because I think it's important that we concentrate on the West and the Western political system, which is controlled by corporations. Corporate America was an idea that existed for a while, and then there was this idea that they're getting more and more powerful, and we know Why they got more powerful? Because the parties are always not having enough money and asking for campaign funds and donors, which would invariably be the big corporations. And after they pay, if after they fund political parties, they will be wanting payback. And
Absolutely.
it's because of the system that gives them control over your political system, and they can only think in terms of profit and loss. And so it's crazy to have this system. And actually, George Washington warned against it. He said, "Don't have political parties because it only sows divisions where none existed before." But I'm saying it's actually dangerous because you will never get change because, all the corporations have to do is bribe your politicians, and they have so much money and the politicians are so bribable.
Yeah, I think it is downright criminal that we have lobbying. And I think eventually lobbying will be done away with because the common sentiment that I don't think I've ever personally met anybody that is okay with lobbying, because we all know
it's bribing, isn't it?
Yeah, they're getting the money so they can get favorable legislation. It's disgusting. It's terrible. If you do it in
he
medical,
who pays the piper calls the tune.
Yeah, well, if you do it in the medical field, it's illegal and you can go to jail. If you do it in corporate America, it's considered unethical and illegal in a lot of areas. But when the politicians do it, it's just politics. That's bullshit. But I do have to go. I'm gonna pop back on here in about an hour, so I'll let other people talk now.
Well, thank you for that the dialogue. I'm glad we could talk in this way.
Absolutely.
Claire, I just wanted to say.
In the chat have?
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Stronger. Give me 1 sec. Claire, I just want to say I don't agree with you, but I appreciate the fact that you came in and actually were able to have this Q and A, because I know people were interested in talking to you, and I appreciate that.
I've been enjoying myself.
Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate
thank you for having me on.
Yeah. Now, if there's any other questions anyone wants to ask, raise your hand and I'll let you in. Or if you guys have anything else you want to say, Bo, Stronger, or Andrew, go for it.
I think your views are interesting, and I'm going to look further in them. I looked up how long the Quran is, and I think it's like 600 pages. So I might give it a read.
Yeah, if you read it from back to front, you'll get the shorter chapters at the back, but the longer chapters in the front are the legalistic ones with most of the rules. So it's just something to bear in mind.
Thank you.
But my favorite translation is the N.J. Darwood Penguin translation, but others prefer, and he was an Iraqi Jew, but I just find his translation the most memorable.
Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope we can talk about it another time.
Maybe. It depends on if we talk again. I gotta go.
All right, Andrew. I appreciate you coming in, brother. See you later. All right. Bo, Stronger, anything else you guys want to say?
No, I'm done.
All right.
Yeah,
Stronger.
I'm done too. I've gotten pretty bored, I guess.
All right. All right, Claire. I'm going to close it out. I appreciate everyone for coming in, and we'll catch you on another stage, okay?